First, so in this video, I want to talk about the Anthropic clients. So what happens when we send a request to their models? What kind of response do we get? And how can we tweak it so that we can create our own agent loop to create an AI agent, right? And understand how does agent loop works. And for that, we have to dive into the client, the response that we get, and what kind of tricks out there that we can use to make this work in a agent loop. So let's dive in. All right, so let's actually first define variables and modern variables that we need for the clients. And the client is Anthropic, basically. And yep, these are just modern variables. And here we define, this is how we create a request, basically. We define a model, which we defined as haiku. It's also in the environment variable that I defined. And we define max tokens. This is because we want to limit it. We don't want the model to go over 1,000 tokens. It basically shuts down after that point. It could be gibberish as well if it produces more than 1,000. So we should be careful with that. And this is, I mean, the logic behind interacting with large language models is that we first define the system prompt, and the system prompt gives the model a characteristics, and we have a user and agent, and that's basically pretty much it. It changes frameworks to frameworks, but that's about it usually. So we have the model agent, and you have the user giving requests to the model. And we're saying that, say hello and tell me what you can do. And the response that we get from the model, let's actually run this again one more time. Hex over time. All right, so the response type is Anthropic types message. We get that message back, right, basically. And here we are basically looking at the attributes of the model. Here we will see that we got content. Let's see, what does content return? Actually, there's already one here. Let me get rid of that and say that. And this is where you get basically. If you kind of pay attention, this is a list, right? Nora, I will get into here and type response.content. Typo. It's a list, right? And how many items in it? Let's take a look at that as well. Length of it. I just want, because we send the request and we got a response. It's just a one message. It's not a complicated message. Sometimes there are like different message types, like tool call, result message, and you can make it colorful. Why? If you have a sophisticated system, it's going to be like you will have different messages in order to identify different use cases and to make it also more structured. You can think about it that way. But like for now, let's just only focus on the first message, right? And here we will take a look at text. And that's it. We got a string, right? And even we can do, I think we have already imported that, right?
Does this work? Let's check it out.
Yep, this is it. So this is what we got. Usually when you ask ChatGPT, Claude Code, or Claude itself, this is what you get as a response, right? Obviously, it's more structured and formatted in Markdown, usually. Okay, so I'll get rid of that. So we will take a look at a couple of things that we can reach within this. We just saw that we can get the output. We can also get the model that we use. It's Haiku in 2025, 10th of October. Is it October? Yeah, it's October. And it's been a while that the Anthropic hasn't put a Haiku model out there. I think they're about to publish one. But okay, we can get the role. As I said, there's user, assistant, and there are different, not roles, but message types based on role. Yeah, I think like there's only two roles. There has to be only two roles. But I'm not too sure about that as well. But usually it's either assistant or user. And this is stop seconds. We will have nothing as a response to that. And this is basically is not practiced a lot, but you can influence the response with a stop word. What does that look like is you basically define stop seconds as, let's say, uh, you wanted the model to list top car models, and you set the top sequence as 6. What will happen is after 5, it won't produce 6 because it will stop at 6. So it's kind of like a way of controlling the output. Not so important nowadays because there's agent loop that you have more control over the model, and the models are more smart. And this is the most important parameter that I will say after content, which is stop region. So here you see that end underscore term. We also have this tool underscore use, which tells the model you need to call a tool. In our case, we didn't really define tools. In our implementation, the model didn't have any tools in disposal. That's why, our also request is very simple. Even if we allow the model to have tools, it wouldn't really call them, probably. Depends on the situation, actually. But, okay, so we have a tool use as a stop region. It stopped. With the tool use, it calls a tool, gets the output, and continues. You will see in a moment that this is kind of useful. The response type message, the usage, this gives you the token number. So as you can see, we have sent 290 tokens, which sounds a lot. Our request wasn't that long. But what happened is the model has, let's say, baked in token usage. Or like system prompts, not token usage. I said that weird. The model has already instructions on the backgrounds. It also counts that. Let's put it that way. And the output was 33 tokens, which was actually printed out, but I deleted. It's okay. Okay, so I have actually just literally, here we see everything that we just take a look, so I don't have to run this. Right, we have the model, the message type, the role, the model, and the stop region, and so on. Now, let's take a look at the response, right? And we are enumerating like this because the content can be more than, it has let's actually exactly take a look at how does content look like so that we can actually have better. So once again, it comes with a list, right? And for each text block, what we can do is, I want to make sure that I'm getting these points correct because I don't want to get them wrong. All right, so we're basically getting the contents, right? And we're enumerating them. The I becomes the first message, right? The block 1, which, it doesn't start from 1, but it starts from 0. And the second thing we get is this exact thing, right? We're basically numbering them. Enumerate here plays just a convenience role. And as I said, this text block can be more than one. In this list, we can have more than one response, which we will see actually. And it's funny because when you look at this, it is confusing, but under the hood, it's just a bunch of list of text blocks that we keep feeding the model, accumulating this text block. User, assistant, user, assistant, user, assistant, basically. And when we run this, we basically see the text, it's a text block, and the text content is this. Now let's continue. Let's now take a look at a response with tools. And the tool is bash. It runs a shell command. And we have the schema. In order to define a tool, you have to put it into certain context, certain data type, so that the model understands, the client understands. This is basically a protocol, you could say. The Anthropic forces you to hack. And we did that as a parameter, right? Everything is same. We gave a tool, and now now we want to use the tool, right? We want the model to use the tool. List all files in the current directory. Where we are here, right? If we take a look at that, just like this in the terminal, currently we are here, and we can get into this folder. And currently, it means to write this, right? But let's see how it will just write this comment and take a look at the files that exist in this folder. Let's see how it handles. Okay, so what we saw was we just send the request and we got a response back, right? But for this time, it's not entern, but it's tool use. So we didn't really get a response. Basically, we just got a response that says call this tool for me to see the output. Basically, right? That's what we're gonna take a look at now. Let's now run this as well. So now the block 0, the first block that we got, we can take a look at that once again here. Response with tool.content. Tool use block. Initially it was text block, right? Now it's different. It has like ID, it has caller, direct caller. The input, again, this comment that I just saw, but with extra parameters in order to see extra files. The name of the tool they used, the type is tool use. And that's what we see here, basically. The model just says, call this tool for me. I can't continue from here. I will continue after you give me the response of that tool so that I can get it back to the user. And here, we're going to be seeing a couple of requests. And how does the model handle that? For a simple question like, what is 2 plus 2? We get stop reason as entern because it's a simple question that model can just answer, right? Let's see actually if you got it wrong, correct? It doesn't really, we're not really printing that out. I don't know why. But probably didn't have a problem with that. Anyway, the second prompt is create a file called test.txt, right? And the response is now tool use. It's not enter. It wants us to call the tool. You kind of find a place to use tool, and it wants to use the tool in order to answer. That's where it is. And the last multi-step task, well, yes, it is multi-step because we see 2 blocks now. It said create a directory called test there, and then list its contents, right? And we see that it's text first and then tool use. It said something probably, maybe if reason through this. Something like, the user wanted me to create a test directory, then list its contents. And the second block is, I need to call this basically bash command, right? It doesn't it could do this in 2 steps as well. First create directory and then list its output. But it did it with this end symbol, right? We could have also had another block as tool use as well. It could be sequential, let's say. All right, so let's take a look at now. How does it look like if we call the tool and give it back to the model? So we're getting to agent loop, right? And here, again, we have the user content. The messages, we're printing the messages. We're sending the request to the model. Everything's the same so far. Okay, yeah. Okay, now it responded back. I don't know why it took a while. And again, same pattern as before. It wants to use the tool. And we can see that comment here as well. The comment is find dots and a complicated, a sophisticated bash command the model wants to call in order to see all the Python files. And here, now here the agent loop comes in. So now what we want to do, we know the messages, right? The messages is here. Now it only has the user content, the user role message. Now what we want to do is add this assistant response here that we got to this messages, right? And let's see actually how that looks like. And now we have the 2 messages, one user and the assistant message. We have the user ask something. The assistant wanted to call a tool. Let's see what happens in step 3. We're going to execute the tool and get the output and give it back to the model. Basically, that's what's going to happen. What happened is they executed the tool here with the subprocess library or function, right? With the commands that we got. How we got that is within the block, the response.content that we got from the model, and we got the commands, right? And we executed it, and we got the result, and we got it into this tool result dictionary, and we appended that to tools, and we printed it out, right? And now we got the tool result. We are appending that as a user response to the model. And this is what it does. It's a lot of code. Now what happened is, user, I want you to do the blah, blah, blah thing. Okay, I need to call this tool from the assistant. And the user, okay, I call the tools. Now it's your turn. Now we have accumulated all the messages. We will give all that message to the model. We accumulated all that message. User, assistant, user, I guess now. With the same tools. Let's see what the model gonna do. This is the step 5. Okay, now we got the response. It's a text, right? It's enter. Now the tool type at the stop reason is enter, meaning that now the model knows what's the output. It doesn't need to call any tool further because it literally got the output from the tool usage. And it says the Python files in the current directory are this one and this one. It is correct. Actually, those two are the contents. And the agent loop completes. First call, stop reason, tool use. The second call is to enter. That's what the agent does under the hood. Let's actually visualize this in a while loop. One more time, and let's see the full picture here. The first turn, we send the message. The model wanted to use a tool. We executed the tool, ls-la. We got the output. We're looking back. And the model, by the way, I need to take a look at that with the message that it sends. What files are in this directory? It just literally, again, lists the directory. It lists the files in the directory. And it's here, right? It's the same logic in one response. So this is what happens under the hood, right? I also want to show this with OpenCode. OpenCode is a coding platform that you can run code. Let's now actually send the same request to this agentic model. I will use Kimi K2.5 Turbo. And I will just ask basically what files exist in this project folder. Very simple. It didn't really need to plan this. It's a very simple task for these kind of models. Let's see how it responds. All right, so and we can see the model first did some thinking and created some text block, right? The user wants to know what files exist in the current folder. This is a simple read-only request. Even the model knows it's a simple read-only request to list files. Since I'm in plan mode, because it was in plan mode, right? And the OpenCode has this different agents, right? There's build and plan by default. In the planning, the model doesn't really do any coding. It plans the task that you give. When you tap, I also have another agent that is technical tutor that teaches me things. I created that personally. And we have the build, right? Build creates files. So you kind of give the models different characteristics to let them know in which scenario, in which state are they in. And the model called this tool, read tool, right? And dot literally means in programming, current file. And again, the model got the response as a result of this read dot. And it did thinking. The directory contains 11 entries. Let me list them for the user. The directories are such as such. Files are such as such. I only ask for files. It also returned directories. Well, technically, it didn't really listen to me. If you can think about that, right? It also lists because the directories, but that's not the point. So this is how the agents work, and this is what happens under the hood when we work with the clients like Anthropic. You basically structure things as much as possible because the response, the text is now reliable. So you have to train the models to give these characteristics, the user, assistant, different message types, to make it more structured, basically. So we can, yeah, I mean, they don't have to further explain this. And that was it. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one.